Hi, my name is Patrick. This short video is about fine art and JMW Turner, and specifically some new and additional information that will be of interest to virtually any fine art lover. I'm an artist and connoisseur based here in Sydney, Australia, and the image you're looking at in front of you is D00391 from Tate. It's by JMW Turner. It's a watercoloured sketch. It shows a castle on a promontory headland, background a higher hill slightly, and you'll see some foreground figures and rocks and so forth. Its current description is landscape composition with ruined castle. However, it needs to be a little bit more accurate than that. It's taken from the Welsh and Marshes series, 1792-1793, but that might not be quite accurate. What it is actually depicting is, and you will see up here, the chimneys, the turrets on the main keep, and over here, importantly and distinctly, a bridge, a single arch span. This is, of course, as virtually everybody in Northern Ireland and elsewhere can identify, is Dunluce Castle in North County Antrim, home of the famous Lady Macquillan, God rest her. So this painting by Turner could, in theory, have been done from an image, much like it suggested about Clontarf Castle, given that Ms. Vernon was the wife of Walter Fawkes, one of his primary patrons. However, if this is 391, one would automatically be looking at numbers prior to that, and perhaps a bit beyond, for other images that will be distinctively Irish. Now, just because I've said it's Dunluce Castle obviously doesn't mean that you can have to accept it's Dunluce Castle. But let's just look at Dunluce Castle, painted by Mr. Miller some 30, 40 plus years later. You will see all the various images. You will see the promontory here. There's a span arch just about up there. The figures, slight cliff here in the foreground. This is on the western side of Dunluce Castle, looking north over on the left-hand side as you look at it. So this is accepted to be Dunluce Castle. Not too many people would disagree with that. I have a very poor quality image that's further. This one's far closer to what Turner painted. The single arch, the turrets on the main keep, and the chimney stacks on the far side. What we have here again is a more modern day photography image, black and white. You can see the usual chimneys over there. Just visible up here are the turrets on the keep. And so the scene that Turner painted was from the foreshore on the western side. A pretty difficult place to get to by anybody's reckoning, but obviously he made it at the time. So if this is D00391, let's look at D00388. Now this is a poor quality image. You can go onto Tate online. There you can see the coloured image. This is effectively two main hills and a central, and if you like, fifth, more pointed hill, like a courtside type of hill. In the actual image, 388, the central hill is basking in morning sunrise. It is not terribly well described currently, but what you have here is obviously in the foreground a harbour and a few inlets. Here's our evident proof of a harbour, the ship, and this light and hill here is not breaking higher than the main hill. So this main hill is on its own, it's distinctive, it's higher than. There is only one hill that I know in all of eastern British and Irish Isles that matches this topography. And remember, Turner was young here according to the Welsh and Marshes series, so he was still being fairly accurate and close to the contours. So this is Slieve Donard. It's a morning sunrise in Slieve Donard. It's a view of the Mourne Mountains in County Down, taken from, based on the topography, the contours, the distance and height and so forth, from Dundrum Harbour in County Down. And as you can see, it's pretty nice it is too. Wouldn't mind having it on my walls hanging. Let's see where we go from here. Now, Between 388 and 391 there are various other images. I will leave it for others to decide, particularly those ladies and gentlemen living in Northern Ireland who are particularly interested in fine art, to determine for themselves where they think those images lie. There's at least one that is making me think it's one of three possible places. I shall leave it for the moment, I don't need to describe it. There are a few other very interesting agricultural scenes, sort of daytime, daily, standard, stereotypical scenes you would expect of poor farmers. And all I can say is that they really do look like typical Irish low agricultural working class, low farming class scenes. They're lovely, they're brilliant, they're insightful, they're even heartwarming when you see the people in what they're doing. So, as far as I'm concerned, we have two paintings now in Tate. They're incorrectly titled. One is Slieve Donard and one is Dunluce Castle. My thanks to, whomsoever it was that made me see these particular images. I shall disclose a little bit more now of something that is even perhaps of more interest, not so much perhaps to people from Northern Ireland, but more people from Britain, mainland UK, and we shall go from there. All right, why did I notice that Dunluce Castle was indeed that and not landscape composition with ruined castle? Well, the reason is quite simple. I will show you a slightly larger version in a minute. This is a colour painting. It is cropped severely. The main image is copyright, but I'm not taking that risk. What I have here over on the right hand side where my finger is approximately is a further 5 centimetres. Up here a further 6 to 8 plus, and over on the left easily 10 centimetres. So it's a painting that's about 50 by 35 centimetres rectangular, approximately, landscape composition. Those of you who have an idea about Turner will notice that it should include many of his standard forms of composition, detail, contour, a host of things. Anyhow, it was purchased in the first half of 2014 in Sydney. It was described as a British landscape. Correct to a point, but let's see. When I first bought it, all I could think of was it was sublime. It was a very large watercolour, and whomsoever it was that painted it had a hand and a skill that made it literally look like an oil. They were that good. So needless to say, it doesn't take too much of a genius to figure out there's only one guy who can do that, and that's Turner. So what I tried to do, my apologies for what I'm about to do, is here on this foreshore you can see an arc in the rocks. We're very close here to the Giant's Causeway, so there's probably going to be some basalt around about. Here, though you cannot see too clearly in the image I've given you, there are some very distinctive curved lines that make this arc just the same. We also have the path. We have two figures here, and over on this side, and you can see I haven't really shown you, but you can sense that this rock face is going up and up. Indeed it is, so it mirrors this. So this painting here now has the same foreground, essentially, as this foreground in Dunluce Castle in the Tate Gallery. Okay, so if it is a Turner, it's one that hasn't been seen for a rather long time, and those who previously had it obviously did not recognise it whatsoever. Perfectly understandable, but a sublime painting, well, it is always sublime. Okay, what this painting has is up here, and my finger is virtually on the centre of it, is a vortex. When you put the painting on its side, you can see the vortex just beautifully. The blue in the sea is rather more intense than you can see here. This centre image here is interesting. Down here is what seems to me to be Mont St. Angelo. So if that was the case, then you'd be looking at Mont St. Angelo, Terracina, Amalfi coast in Italy, for this type of hill where it's higher to the sea, just like in the Dunluce Castle one. And indeed, like most of Turner's, there's no bushes, trees, shrubs. There's no objects, buildings, etc. Nothing about human civilization, etc., or human footprint or imprint. What we have down here on the right hand side is literally basalt columns. Not exactly common at Mont St. Angelo, but very common at Mount St. Michael in Cornwall. So here we have Turner, I believe, Mont St. Angelo, using the foreground from Dunluce Castle in County Antrim, using Mount St. Michael in Cornwall as a centrepiece to an extent, mimicking Mont St. Angelo, and we have up here a very large vortex. Now, just here, and going up here, and beautifully painted, I must say, you can even see it to a certain extent, is an ever increasing or diverging column of smoke. We have down here what I think is 1820. Hidden, well and truly hidden, is some form of signature. Certainly a J and an F and or a T are quite distinct. So what I believe it is 1820, the eruption of Mount Vesuvius, Vesuvius hurling violence. We've got Mount St. Michael being used here. We've got the foreground, we've got the sea, and what we have here, and you can only partially make them out, are in total 33 sheep. We've got 2 sun's rays. We have 2 symbols behind the cloud, one of which is a taw or tau, often commonly meant to be a cross in that era. I think I'll accept that. There's something else hidden inside this hill that also highlights its relationship with St. Michael. And right up at the very top, prior to the painting being executed, there is some form of letter, possibly upside down, underneath the cloud. On the left-hand side here, which you can see, there is a rock, and it mirrors what you will see on Tate's. And I just show it here. There's a little sea stack, so that has been used again. So, in my humble opinion, this painting is exquisitely executed, beautifully preserved, has lost relatively little of its visual colour and hue and tone, and its impact is really still very intense. It's very much sublime. The real beauty of the painting is not what you would think you can see, but it's actually the hills in the background. They are literally to die for. Not literally, yeah, of course. So, this painting is almost certainly by Turner. It has a heavy accent on a theological basis, which, since Turner came back to England, would have executed it in 1820, would suggest that, and there certainly seems to be a dearth of paintings by Turner in that Italian era, except you have an exhibition there, so maybe they're still in Italy. Look, watch out, chaps. This painting, given its theological content, of St. Michael, of 33 sheep and Jesus Christ, of the rays, the Son is God after all, Vesuvius in the background hurling violence, but a beautiful light on this hill acting as a sentinel, counteracting that, and somebody here just resting on the rock, quite happy and content in the circumstances. Very much a theological sort of theme, you would have to say. So that made me think, obviously, then of Accademia St. Luca. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Bruder Luca. The Nazarenes from Germany and Austria who came down to Rome in that time, and Turner made contact with them. So I think it could well be A, Turner, B, a Nazarene-themed or originating form of composition. And on that basis is quite unique. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for looking at this. My humble apologies if I went over a little bit beyond. So we are now up to quite a few minutes beyond what I said I would go to. So we've got 2 paintings in Tate, incorrectly titled. One of those paintings almost definitely required on-site painting. You really have to see sleeve done art from Dundrum, even in this day and age, to get the idea that the sun will impact it beautifully on a sunny morning, crisp morning perhaps at that. So with the other images that you can look at for yourself, JMW Turner, in my opinion, was in Northern Ireland. 1792, 1793, we shall have to see. Those paintings are incorrectly titled, therefore means there's an entire new chapter to be opened up on Turner. That's quite evident. This painting, for those people who will be interested, and thankfully that's beginning to show, particularly interested in the concept of its theological basis and hence on its potential Nazarene link. We can only say it's potential at this stage. A lot more work needs to be done. The painting itself, as you can see, is beautiful, it's sublime, it's large, as are all Turner's watercolours. And I'm a very proud artist to be able to own this sort of painting. Next year, 2015, I will set up a website and we'll go from there. My own artworks are large and distinctive and full of new concepts, as an artist should be able to do, perhaps. Of this, we shall see what happens with it. And so you can catch me at Violin Sulman at live.com, and you can catch me on Twitter at British Turner. So until then, thank you. I'll keep you posted. I'll put up some more videos in the near term, please God, soon after Christmas, and I hope you have a happy Christmas. I'll be in Vienna the 19th of December. We'll see the Vaughan Bequest in Dublin early January, and around the 18th and 19th of January shall see one of the last days of Turner's exhibition in Tate. You'll probably see me just by recognising my intense interest in anything to do with the Nazarene works in Vienna or the Turner paintings in Dublin, or indeed the same in London in Tate. So thank you for your patience and time. I hope you enjoyed it, and we shall see where we go. All the best.